My beloved child, there are moments when I watch you step into winding paths, and my heart aches. It is not because I am angry, but because I see that every step you take hides wounds you have not yet noticed. You think everything is still fine, but I know that ahead of you are things that can fracture your soul. I call you back because every decision you make today is carving grooves into your soul that you yourself will have to carry. I do not want you to wake up only after a fall that hurts too much, after losses that come too late. I want you to see that every choice, no matter how small, can either heal you or quietly wear you down from within. Remember Job, the one who did not lose the Lord even when everything was taken away. But before Job was restored, there was a moment that few pay attention to. He once asked himself in silence whether his heart might be drifting from the path God desired for him. It was precisely in the moment when Job dared to face that truth that his soul was stripped of an invisible stain, a layer which, had he continued to ignore it, would have silently destroyed his entire faith. Job was not healed when he stopped hurting, but when he recognized the source of the fractures running through his soul. You are like Job as well, carrying within you small cracks that you often cannot be bothered to look at. You let worries, wounded pride at a light touch, and seemingly harmless hurtful words cover over my whisper. You know full well you are off course, yet you choose to pretend to be strong, soothing yourself with, "In a little while it will be fine," and it is precisely that little while that shaves away your soul each day, thinning it, weakening it, bit by bit. Then there are times when you convince yourself that you are in control of everything. You tell yourself you do not need me, do not need to pray, do not need to entrust anything. You run, and keep running in the exhausting machinery of life, clutching everything with trembling hands that you still insist are strong. Only when you are spent, when your mind is tangled and your heart is empty, do you suddenly realize, somewhere along the way, you have left the true source of your strength, me. And then you treat your body, your mind, your soul as if they were only temporary tools to be used up. You let foggy emotions and trash-filled thoughts take over. You let your inner life grow barren because you do not pray, do not examine yourself, do not listen to me. Each day, those seemingly small choices cut one more line into your soul until even you no longer recognize that you are bleeding within. There are days when you live in a kind of abandonment of yourself that even you cannot fully explain. You drift through life as if you had no direction, letting my voice become farther, dimmer. You let fear govern your decisions. Let wounded pride drive you forward. Let hurt dictate your thoughts. Let lies slip in like clouds that obscure the light I send you. The most troubling thing is not that you are lost, but that you know you are lost and still try to live as if everything were normal. You do not stop to look back. You do not turn around to adjust your course. You simply keep walking, and each step carves another invisible scratch into your soul. You think you are fine, but in truth you are allowing yourself to drift away from me, little by little. Do you know, there are moments when I see you moving through life like a boat drifting from the shore, with no one at the helm. You still live, still laugh, still walk around as if nothing is wrong, yet I can feel in your heart a kind of fragmentation that has no name. When you let the current of life carry you without listening to my whisper, your soul begins to lose its weight. You do not notice it, because it does not hurt all at once. It only quietly wears you out, making each morning feel heavier than the one before. I do not blame you, but I grieve for you because, when my voice is pushed aside, other things rush in, and you do not realize they are silently darkening your heart. I see clearly the reason you lose your way. You let every little fear inside you become your guide. A single hurtful word, a failure that seemed insignificant, a fleeting wave of anxiety, is enough for you to turn your back on the peace I long to give you. Then you let pride lead the way, let lies those of others and your own define who you are. You begin to think that my silence means abandonment, when in truth, I am waiting for you to stop and listen. You do not allow me to speak, and when I am not given room to speak, other voices immediately take over, pushing you farther away without your even knowing it. Remember Samuel when he was a boy. That night, he heard a voice calling him and thought it was Eli, his teacher. 3 times Samuel ran to him, but Eli told him to go back to bed because he had not called. Only on the 4th time did Eli realize it was the Lord's voice. Do you see? Even Samuel, the one who later led all Israel, once failed to recognize my voice in the night. You are the same. Amid the chaos of your emotions, amid vague urgings in your mind, you confuse my voice with the voice of your anxieties. But if you would only stop, only open your heart like Samuel did, I will call you again and again until you can hear. I want you to understand that being lost is not the most frightening thing. What is truly frightening is knowing you are lost and still forcing yourself to walk on as if nothing were happening. You tell yourself it will be okay eventually, but you do not see the tiny cracks in your soul spreading like gray threads. You turn to things that distract you, thinking they lighten your heart, but in reality they only draw you farther from the harbor of peace I prepared for you. You pretend not to hear me calling, but in truth, your heart still longs for me, longs for certainty, for a place to rest, for an answer to all that you keep hidden. I love you enough to wait, but I long for you to love yourself enough to turn back. And when you are tired, when you ask yourself why your life feels endlessly heavy, that is precisely the moment I want you to step into my light. You do not need to do anything great. You only need to pause for a while, breathe a little more deeply, and call my name. I know you did not mean to drift from me. You were simply pulled in too many directions. I am waiting for the day you understand that my voice has never disappeared. It has only been buried beneath the things you consider more urgent. If you allow me to step back into your heart, you will find that the road ahead suddenly becomes clearer, even if you still do not know where it will end. Then, as you begin to return and listen once more, you will notice something else. It is not only carelessness that pulls you away from me, but also a kind of confidence that seems harmless yet is deeply dangerous. You believe you can manage on your own, control everything, carry every responsibility without me. And that illusion will be the next step in wearing down your soul, a step I will walk with you through, so that you may more clearly understand why your own strength will never be enough to keep you standing firm. There are times when I watch you struggle in life as if you were in the middle of a great windstorm, trying to keep your balance with your small hands. You clutch everything, your work, your reputation, your worries, your responsibilities, as though the slightest letting go would make it all collapse. I see the tension in your shoulders, the nights you lie still while your heart pounds because of all that you cannot control. You think you are strong, but in truth you are only trying to live in my place. And when you push me out of the journey you are on, you do not realize that this is what makes your burden so much heavier. You often imagine that my silence is a signal for you to handle it on your own. You believe that if you do not act very quickly, very firmly, very forcefully, everything will slip out of your hands. So you run, you rush, you throw yourself after expectations that even you do not understand why they have grown so huge. You forget to pray, forget to pause, and ask what I desire for you. I see the fear of being left behind, pushing you forward, and that very fear makes you push me farther away, even though all I want is to walk beside you. Remember King Saul, whom I once chose and to whom I gave both authority and strength. Once, when he saw his army delaying, the enemy drawing near, and Samuel not arriving at the expected time, Saul thought he had to offer the sacrifice himself to keep the people from scattering. He believed that as long as he took control into his own hands, everything would remain under his command. But it was precisely that choice, a decision that seemed so urgent, that caused him to lose the blessing I had prepared for him. Do you see? Sometimes the greatest loss begins at the very moment you think you are strong enough to act in my place. I know you do not intend to shut me out. You are only afraid that if you let go, everything will collapse. But you do not see that the tighter you grip, the more exhausted you become, and the easier it is to lose yourself. I hear your sighs. I hear the words you never speak, that you no longer want to be this strong, no longer want to be in control of everything. I do not blame you for wanting control, but I long for you to understand. There are things that can only be at peace when they rest in my hands, and when you clutch them to yourself, they become a burden. As you gradually allow me to step back in, you will feel lighter, not because your circumstances have changed, but because you no longer have to strain alone. If you are willing to pause, to lift your gaze and let me walk with you, you will find the road less rough and jagged. I am not telling you to sit still, nor do I want you to abandon your responsibilities. I only want you to stop fighting as if you had been abandoned on this battlefield. Let me be your true source of strength, not the layers of false confidence you have built around yourself. You will realize that I do not take away your abilities. I simply keep them from becoming a burden. When you walk with me, you still work, you still strive, but you are no longer alone with every breath you take. Gradually, as you grow accustomed to placing me at the center instead of standing alone, you will see that the old anxieties no longer occupy so much space in your mind. You will learn to discern what needs to be held, what needs to be released, what you can do, and what belongs to me. You no longer have to struggle to control everything, because you understand that what I hold is always more secure than what you grasp by your own strength. And when you have touched that peace, you will also see another quiet truth more clearly. Sometimes it is not only me that you have forgotten, but also the very body and soul I have entrusted to your care. My child, there are times I see you treating yourself like an object to be used for as long as it still works, and whatever wears out will be dealt with later. You forget that your body is a gift I have given you, a home for your soul to dwell in and grow. Every time you stay up too late, eat in haste, force your heart to endure restless, anxious beats, I know you are trying your best, but I also know you are hurting yourself. You think your strength is endless, but in truth it is like a small oil lamp. The harder it burns, the sooner it runs dry. I long for you to understand. You are worthy of being cared for, not only because you have needs, but because you are precious in my eyes. Then there are days when your mind is crowded with dark things you call little matters. An anger left unspoken, a fear never named, an old memory that quietly cuts into your heart. All these silently form a fog that hides the goodness I want you to see. You let these emotions run freely in your thoughts, as though they would simply fade away with time. But you do not realize that anything left unattended tends to grow and then take the place of peace. I do not blame you for being weak. I only want you to know that true peace does not come when you ignore your pain, but when you let me step in and heal it at the root. There are nights when I watch you lying still on your bed, eyes closed but your heart full of noise. You keep thinking, keep worrying, keep running in your mind until there is no empty space left for me to whisper to your heart. The more tired you are, the more you try to push through, to finish everything, then tell yourself that rest is a luxury. I long to hold you and say, no, you are not a warrior who must stay alert 24 hours a day. You are the child whom I love, and you need rest as the earth needs rain. When you learn to stop, you will discover that the words I speak have never been as far from you as you imagined. You also let your soul wither day by day from lack of prayer, lack of reflection, lack of true conversation with me. You say, I'll read scripture tomorrow, I'll examine myself another time, when I'm free, I'll listen. but I see clearly that all those later on have taken more from you than you think. When your soul is undernourished, you are easily swept up by things that do not matter, easily wounded by petty issues, easily exhausted by worries that were never yours to carry. I do not want your soul to become cracked earth for lack of water. I want it to be a garden I may enter each day so that we can tend it together. Look again at the prophet Elijah in the wilderness. He was so worn out that he begged me to let him die, believing there was nothing left worth continuing for. But I did not rebuke him, nor did I command him to stand up. At once I let him sleep. I sent an angel to wake him, to set before him a little bread and water, and then let him sleep again. Only after his body had rested, his mind had relaxed, and his soul had been consoled, did Elijah have the strength to go on. Do you see? Sometimes what you need most is not to fight harder, but to let me care for you in the right way. I want you to know that caring for yourself is not selfishness. It is an act of gratitude toward the one who created you. When you sleep enough, eat enough, breathe deeply, when you allow your mind to be still, when you allow your soul to touch me through moments of prayer, you are giving yourself the chance to grow. You cannot love others when you are emptied out, nor can you hear me when your heart is full of noise. I want you to be gentle with yourself as I am gentle with you. And then, when you begin to return to yourself, begin to cherish your body, cleanse your mind, and water your soul, you will start to see the hidden corners you have long kept covered. Habits of postponing, the thoughts of, I'll deal with it tomorrow, the small choices that seem harmless but leave long, thin scratches on your life. All of these will gradually come into the light. And that will be the next journey I want to walk with you, so you may understand that what destroys your soul is not always great catastrophes, but often the small delays of each day. My child, there are moments when I see you standing before the doorway of change, yet hesitating, as if an invisible cord were binding your feet. You know what needs to be done. You know what I am inviting you to, but you choose to delay with a vague promise to yourself. I'll deal with it tomorrow. You believe that tomorrow you will have more strength, more time, more peace to begin. Yet that tomorrow comes and goes like a bubble of water, and you remain where you are, carrying a quiet disappointment you cannot name. I do not blame you, but I clearly see each opportunity for healing slipping from your hands simply because you are waiting for a perfect moment that never appears. Many times you think you delay because you are busy, but deep inside, I know you are afraid. You are afraid to face what you have been avoiding for so long, afraid to let go of habits that cling to you like a second skin, afraid to accept that you have been wrong somewhere. You choose to step back, thinking that standing still is safer, but in truth, it is that very standstill that weakens your soul day by day. Each time you say, maybe tomorrow, a small part of your heart grows a little harder, and as you grow numb, it becomes harder for you to hear my voice calling you closer. Do you remember Jonah? When I sent him to Nineveh to carry out his mission, he did not refuse outright, he simply avoided it. He chose to go in the opposite direction, thinking he could put things off, thinking that if he ran long enough, the mission would disappear. But you know that it was precisely this delay that left him adrift in the belly of the fish, living dark and suffocating days he never needed to endure. Jonah was not punished for being weak. He only pushed himself into confusion because he wanted to postpone obeying my will. That story is not told to condemn him, but so that you may see, each time you hesitate, you are pushing yourself into an unnecessary darkness. I understand that change always demands courage, and there are times you feel you are not strong enough. You think you must prepare more, wait for the right moment, wait for your heart to be calmer. But you do not realize that true strength comes when you begin, not when you keep waiting. I have seen you so many times wanting to take a step, only to let the weariness at the end of the day extinguish the resolve you had in the morning. You lull yourself with the phrase, "I'll deal with it later," as though time were limitless. But my child, time is not your enemy. It is simply that it does not stop to wait for you. When you dare to pause and look deeply at the things you postpone, you will see they affect you more than you think. A small task pushed aside today can become a mountain tomorrow. A tiny change you refuse today can become a long-lasting wound. I do not want you to repeat this. I long for you to practice taking one very small step, a short prayer, a small act of kindness, one moment of being completely honest with yourself. As long as you step forward, I will walk with you. But if you remain where you are, weariness will cling to you longer than you imagine. And then, as you become accustomed to acting instead of delaying, you will notice yourself becoming lighter, more free. You will see that the fears which once blocked your path are far smaller than the love I have for you. Yet it is precisely then that I want you to pay attention to something deeper. Sometimes you procrastinate not only because you fear change, but because you are clinging too tightly to old wounds, to resentments not yet released, to memories that should have been laid down. And that will be the next door I wish to open with you, the door of forgiveness, first for others, and then for yourself. My child, I know there are small corners in your heart where you do not want anyone to touch, not even me. In those places you keep old wounds, the words that hurt you, the actions that wounded you, the memories that make your heart ache every time you recall them. You think that holding on to them will make you stronger, will keep you from ever repeating that pain again. But what you do not see is that they are quietly binding you in the dark, making it hard for you to breathe and hard for you to believe in goodness. I watch you clutch these fragments, and my heart grieves, because they could have fallen from your hands long ago. Many times you ask yourself why your heart feels so heavy, why every step feels like dragging your whole past behind you. It is because you are nurturing resentment as though it were something you must keep in order to protect yourself. You forget that every time you revisit it, every time you stir up that pain, you deepen the wound once more. I know you do not mean to. You simply do not know what else to do but hold it close. But my child, resentment does not protect you. It only eats away at you from within, robbing you of the beautiful colors I have placed in your soul. And then, when resentment grows too great, you begin to turn the spear against yourself. You blame yourself for being foolish, for being weak, for not being good enough to avoid the mistakes of the past. You live inside the words, "if only," "I wish," "what if." You lock yourself into an invisible cage of condemnation, thinking you deserve this constant torment. But you do not realize that every word of self-blame is a new cut on your soul, something I never once desired to see on the child I love. Remember Peter, after he denied me 3 times. His pain was so deep that he could not even dare to look at me in that moment. He thought he was no longer worthy of my love. He ran away, weeping bitterly, carrying a torment he thought could never be washed clean. But do you see? I did not come to accuse him. I came to ask him only one question: do you love me? Not to judge his guilt, but to pull him out of the whirlpool of regret in which he had locked himself. It is the same with you. I do not need you to be perfect. I only need you to come back. I know that forgiveness is not easy, especially forgiving yourself. But try to look at it from my side. You are the child I formed with all my love, and I have never wanted you to live believing you are an irredeemable sinner. When you dare to forgive, you are not denying your past. You are simply refusing to let it decide your future anymore. You give me the chance to step in, to wipe away your hidden tears, and to turn your wounds into witnesses of mercy. You lose nothing when you forgive. You only regain yourself. When you are able to release your resentment and stop hurting yourself, you will feel a weight lifting from a place you thought could never be lightened. And in that lightness, you will hear more clearly my voice calling you into a deeper place where you must face your daily choices, small choices that slowly accumulate into the path you are walking. For sometimes the greatest regret is not found in a single painful event, but in a chain of choices you thought didn't matter, which then piled up into a deep wound whose beginning you no longer recognize. My beloved child, there are moments when you sit in silence and realize that every choice you made before, no matter how small, has woven into the road you are on now, a road from which you no longer know how to turn back. You look at your past as if looking into a cracked mirror, each shard reflecting a mistake that makes you want to turn your face away. You think you have missed too much, are too late, have lost too much to ever begin again. I feel your heart tighten each time you remember what you cannot change, and that pain convinces you that the only thing left for you to choose now is regret. But my child, regret is not your destiny. It is only the echo of lessons you have not yet learned. You blame yourself for not listening to me sooner, for allowing lies, fears, and small compromises to gradually pull you away from me. You think that once you have gone too far, all you can do is bow your head and declare yourself unworthy. I watch you each time you fall into silence, trying to understand how you have become who you are now. But I want you to remember this. Every lost road can become a way home if you are willing to turn around. There are days when you immerse yourself in the feeling that it's too late, as if time itself exists to punish you. You recall the chances you let slip by, the good you did not do, the mistakes you repeated even while knowing they were draining you. You keep circling around the question, if only, as though that question could open a new door for you. But listen, your past does not need you to fix it. It needs you to understand it. I do not want you to lock yourself in the dark room of regret just because you were one step too slow. I want you to stand up, be gentler with yourself, and begin again from the smallest thing today. Do you know what saddens me most? Not that you have done wrong, but that you believe once you have failed, you can no longer return to me. You build an invisible wall between us, a wall made of hasty conclusions. He must be disappointed in me. He doesn't want to hear me anymore. But you forget that I have never changed my place. I am still exactly where I was when you first discovered that I love you. Regret cannot pull you away from me unless you yourself choose to trust it more than you trust my mercy. Let me tell you about the sinful woman who came to me at the Pharisees' banquet. Those around her saw only her sin, her past, the shame she carried. But she no longer chose regret. She chose to move toward me. She said nothing. She simply offered what was most precious to her, and in her eyes I saw a fierce determination to break the chains of her past. Do you see? It was not the world that decided whether she was forgiven. She herself decided to return to the light. You too can choose as she did, no matter how long and heavy your past may be. My child, when you are truly weary of regret, that is precisely the moment when I can open a new door for you. You do not need to change everything in a single day. You only need to dare to step out of the shadows of if only. No matter how far you have wandered, I still draw one step closer to shorten the road of your return. Regret only wins when you stand still. Once you begin to move, it fades like mist. And as you start to find peace, again, you will see this clearly. Many regrets do not exist because the sins were too great, but because you did not live with the love I longed to sow in your heart. And then, out of this return, you will discover a gentle yet powerful truth. What heals your heart is not trying to erase the past, but allowing me to write the road ahead. From here, I want you to notice something more important than every old feeling: your daily choices, those small turns that seem harmless, but shape your soul far more deeply than you imagine. And that is where I want to lead you next, into the journey of true awakening. My beloved child, there are moments when I see you tirelessly searching for something you yourself cannot name, a hollow ache in your chest, a yearning without a face, as if you are chasing a shadow that retreats every time you draw near. You try to walk faster, hoping that when you finally touch that shadow, you will feel the worth of your life. But you do not realize that this shadow is only the distorted outline of the passing things the world sets before you. You look for meaning in the gaze of others, in fleeting praise, in achievements you believe will stop your heart from trembling. Yet I see that tremor still there, even stronger, because you are expecting from the world what only I can give you. You gather experiences, knowledge, success, stacking them in a corner of your heart as though they were the foundation on which you can stand firm. But you do not know that this foundation is like dry sand. One soft gust of wind and everything you have worked so hard to build collapses without warning. Then, panicked, you ask, why did everything fall apart? And I, though heartbroken, can only whisper, because you placed your hope in things that cannot keep your soul. You keep walking like that, wanting to draw nearer to me, while still being pulled back by other voices. You feel the inner conflict. One part of you longs for true peace. Another part fears that if you return to me, you will have to let go of what you have grown used to leaning on. You know that these half-hearted choices are exhausting your soul, yet you hesitate like one standing at a crossroads, looking toward me, while your heart remains entangled by the false lights in another direction. I hear the hidden question inside you. Can I seek God and still hold on to the world? My child, your soul was not created to be divided. When you try to walk two roads at once, you will always feel unsteady, torn between two opposing forces. You think you can balance them, but in truth you are slowly sinking into the marsh of inner conflict, a place that drains you while giving you nothing lasting in return. I have watched countless generations of my children slide along this very struggle. They want to receive blessing, but do not want to relinquish what is drawing them away from me. They ask for light, yet keep a small corner where darkness can hide. Do you know what wounds me most? Not that you are weak or slow to change, but that you remain forever hesitant between two calls, mine and those of things that can never safeguard your soul. Long ago I asked my people, how long will you waver between two opinions? And today I still look at you with that same question on my lips. Not to reproach you, but to rouse you, to help you see that delaying your choice is not neutral. It is another kind of choice, the perilous choice of remaining in ambiguity. You search for wholeness, yet offer me only half your heart. You long for peace, yet cling to habits that throw your soul into turmoil. You ask to be guided, yet walk in the opposite direction each time I reach out my hand. It is not because you do not love me, but because you fear that giving me everything means losing something you think you need. You forget that I never take away what is truly good for you. I only remove what is silently destroying you. I do not want a little bit of your heart, some of your faith, or a few parts of your attachment. I want your whole heart, because only when it belongs entirely to me will you be shielded from the fragile things you cannot see. I see you bow your head in prayer, yet your heart keeps its distance. I see you sing songs of praise, yet your thoughts are tied tightly to nameless anxieties. I see you come to me through familiar rites, words, and gestures, while your heart remains cold, as if it had never brushed against the warmth of love. You think I am seeking perfection in your actions, but what I desire has never been in your steps. It has always been in the very breath of your soul. I am not moved by grand words, nor stirred by splendid rituals. Those may be beautiful in human eyes, but it is your heart that makes me stop and stay. I see through every layer you wear to appear all right, and never once have I been deceived. I see you weeping in silence, trembling in fear, smiling while tears still rest inside your chest. You can hide from the world, but I know everything. I do not want you to come to me only with outward forms. You may kneel, bow, recite countless prayers, But if your heart remains shut, I cannot enter. I want you to rend your heart before me, not so that I may gaze at its ugliness, but so that I may recreate it. You think that a torn heart is a symbol of pain, but in truth, it is the act of one who dares to face the truth, who dares to lay everything down before the one who can heal. You do not need to cry out loudly, do not need to weep dramatically. You only need to open your heart truly, even with just a small crack, and I will step in and do the rest. You feel your heart growing cold, but do not be afraid of that coldness. The chill in your soul is not a sentence passed on you. It is a sign that you can still feel something. Only a dead heart no longer knows what cold is. If your heart still trembles, it means I can still awaken it. Come back while you can still feel that winter inside. Because as long as you can feel it, you can still turn around. Do not wait until you grow numb, until pain hardens into habit, until my voice is completely buried. Let the emptiness you feel today become an invitation to draw near to me, just as a traveler uses the very biting cold to seek a fire to warm himself. My child, you are still standing on a threshold where with just a single step, you would find yourself in a vast region of light. Not the light of this world that burns bright and then dies, but a light that is gentle, yet deep, warm, yet enduring, a light that does not blind you but allows you to truly see yourself. I do not force you to choose me because I am missing someone. I want you to choose me because there is nowhere else that can hold as much peace for you as my embrace. And you know this. Deep in your heart, no matter how many times you deny it, there remains one truth. You belong to me. Therefore, my beloved, do not let your heart prolong its hesitation any further. Every day spent in indecision steals away a portion of your vitality. Do not hand over your soul to things that flash for a moment and then fade. Do not let empty glitter call you with sweet whispers that in truth lead you into fields of desolate cold. Give your heart to the one who sees every hidden corner within you and still chooses to love you. Let me become the place where you find meaning that does not fade, a purpose that cannot be shaken, and a love that never runs dry. For only I endure forever, and only in me will your heart truly find its home. My beloved child, come closer and let me speak to you with all the tenderness your heart is aching for. Even if your words fall apart, even if your prayers are broken and fragmented, trembling like a child who has just finished crying, I still hear them clearly. Not because your words are complete, not because the sound you raise is strong, but because I always incline my ear toward those who return with shattered hearts. I have never sought empty rituals, nor acts meant to prove to me that you are good enough. What I desire is the truest part within you, the place where you no longer hide, no longer pretend to be strong, where you allow me to touch the parts you think no one could ever reach. You have always thought I was far away, yet you did not know that from the very moment you sighed, I was already there. I have always longed for one thing, that mercy might be poured out upon you. Not perfection, not carefully polished plans, not a strong, impressive image before the world. I yearn for you to give me the truth in your heart, even if it is still in pieces, even if it still bears many scars. I have never opened the door to welcome those who consider themselves pure. I open it to welcome those who know they need healing. A person carrying a repentant heart moves me far more than the most dazzling ritual. If your tears fall because you want to return to me, they are more precious than any offering laid upon the altar. And every time you come back, my arms open wide again, not merely as wide as the time before, but wider still, because I always wish to close the distance between me and you in the blink of an eye. My mercy is not a weak trickle of water, it is a mighty river that can wash away every speck of dirt that has clung to your soul through the years. It does not flow because you deserve it, but because I love you. It does not stop when you fail. It only waits for you to step forward so that it may be released. Many times you have thought I only care for the good and the beautiful. Yet you do not know that I reserve my gentlest tenderness for those who have fallen the hardest. That river of mercy never ceases to flow, yet there is one thing I will never do. I will not drag you away from where you stand if you are not yet willing to move. I will not turn the page of your story if you are not ready to leave the old page behind. Because, my child, after love itself, I have given you the most precious gift, the power to choose. The freedom I place in your hands is not so that you may destroy yourself, but so that you can love me with a heart that is not coerced. Love must be voluntary. If I forced you to remain with me, it would not be the kind of love I desire, so I allow you to go far, to choose things other than me, even to step onto paths that will wound you. Not because I want you to suffer, but because if love is not chosen, it is no longer love. And precisely because you have this freedom, every choice carries its own consequences. I do not change that law, because what bears no consequence has no value. What demands no responsibility can never give birth to maturity. So, whatever you sow, that you will also reap. Not because I punish you, but because this is the principle of life. When you sow into things that feed the weakness of the flesh, the desires that cause your soul to wither, the thoughts that only draw you away from me, you will reap exhaustion, emptiness, and the sense that you no longer know where you belong. You will feel like a dry leaf carried by the wind with nothing to hold on to. But when you sow into what belongs to me, into the Spirit who is breathing within you, you will reap a life that nothing can steal away. That life is not reserved only for the eternal future, but for right now. In every breath you take, every decision you make, every morning you open your eyes and no longer feel your heart weighed down like stone. I know there are moments when you stand trembling on the boundary between two choices. On one side is the familiar road of weariness, on the other is the new yet challenging road of return. You want to walk toward me, but your past grips your wrist and tells you that you are not worthy. You want to let go of old things, but fear persuades you that you will only fail again. You long to be forgiven, yet you hesitate to open your heart. Even so, I want you to know this. If you lean even a little toward the light, just a little, I will run toward you with the speed of a father who has been waiting for you for a very long time. There are moments when you think your words are so small that I will not bother to hear them. But my child, I do not measure your words by their length. I listen to the truth inside them. A single "Lord" from you, when your heart is breaking, can be more powerful than a long, eloquent prayer from someone who only wants to be praised as devout. I do not need ornate language. I need your heart. I do not need you to appear strong. I need you to truly return. I do not need you to walk quickly. I only need your first step to be turned in my direction. My mercy is great enough to lift every burden off your shoulders, yet my love is also gentle enough to never force you to release what you are not yet ready to surrender. I want you to know that every choice can become either cut or a stitch in your soul. When you choose what is wrong, your soul is torn. But when you choose to come back, that choice becomes a golden thread that mends your soul more beautiful than it was before it was ever torn. If you knew how precious you are in my eyes, you would understand why I never want your choices to lead you into self-destruction. There are quiet, seemingly insignificant choices that appear to mean nothing. Allowing a sinful thought to take root, tolerating a small bitterness in your heart, postponing a good deed because you think you still have time, choosing silence when you should forgive, choosing to run away when you should open your mouth to pray. Each small thing has a deeper impact on your soul than you imagine, and if you sow them continually, one day you will find yourself standing before a harvest full of regret, something you never wished for. But if you sow small seeds of goodness, even tiny ones, a brief prayer, a moment of restraint, a gentler gaze, a sigh that reaches toward me, I will use those seeds to lead you out of the darkness. Do not think that I demand something grand from you. Great things never begin as great. They begin as small beginnings you consider meaningless. You only need to choose me in one moment, and then you will see that you can choose me in the next. I am not asking you to change in a single day. I am inviting you to walk in small steps, moment by moment, breath by breath, and you will find your heart becoming softer, your soul more tender, no longer afraid of what is to come. For when you sow to the Spirit, you will see that my peace is unlike the peace of this world. It is deeper, surer, and unmoved by the storms. And as you begin to live by choices that belong to the light, you will find that your stammering words in prayer no longer make you ashamed. You will see that the empty spaces in your heart are no longer gaping holes, but places where I pour my love in full measure. You will see that your past no longer has the right to rule you, but becomes simply a reminder of how many times I have saved you. You will see that eternal life is not a distant concept, but a living stream flowing even now, touching every part of you that you thought was dead. And you will understand something I have always desired you to understand. I have never abandoned you, even when you abandoned me. I have never grown weary of you, even when you were weary of yourself. I have never kept silent to punish you, but only kept silent to listen if you would ask me to draw near. You only need to choose me. And when you choose me, you are not only choosing life, you are choosing your true self. You are choosing a future restored, a soul healed, a heart made light. You are choosing to step out of the darkness and to give me the chance to love you in the way I intended from the very beginning. Whatever you sow into the days that remain of your life, that you will reap in my light. My beloved child, you often think that you yourself know best what suits your life, that your own feelings are enough to keep you away from danger and lead you into what you call peace. But I see deeper than any human eye can see. I know the beginning and the end of each choice you have not yet considered. I see the crossroads you think are safe, but that hide deep pits your steps can easily fall into, simply because you are too hurried, too self-confident, and too tired to stop and ask my will. I see clearly the traps laid out by invitations that seem sweet, but carry the sharp sickle of destruction. I know exactly which path bears true light, and which vague trail leads you into confusion of mind. You cannot see all these things, and I do not blame you, for what is finite cannot perceive every hidden corner. But precisely because I long to shield you from what you cannot yet see, I constantly desire to lead you to where there is clean water, an expanse of peaceful sky, where your soul can finally rest after all its struggling through the months and years. I know what you long for is a simple life, with few storms, few uncertainties, few trials that exhaust you to the point of wanting to let go. But my child, to bring you to a place of true peace, I need you to follow me, even when the road I choose does not match the road you had hoped for. There will be stretches strewn with stones that make you wonder why I did not choose the smoother way. There will be steps that burn your feet and make you think I no longer care about your small pains. Yet, what you do not understand is that this hardship is not punishment but preparation, a journey of refining so that your heart will be strong enough to face days with even greater winds. I want you to trust me, not only when you understand, but also when everything ahead of you is unclear. I want you to love me not only under bright skies, but also when the heavens are heavy with gray clouds. For love is not proven by easy days, but by each step in which you hold my hand, even when you cannot see me. I often hear you think that I want to keep you away from every storm, that my love is to place you in a safe box where nothing can ever hurt you. But you are mistaken, my beloved child. I do not keep you from every wind and wave, because without storms, you would never learn what it means to stand firm. Without trials, you would never discover the true strength I have placed within your heart. What I do is not to erase the storm, but to lead you through it, so that you do not collapse, so that you are not consumed by fear, so that you do not lose yourself in the roar of circumstances. When you walk in the dark, I walk right behind you to shield you. When the winds of life push you off balance, I lay my hand on your shoulder so you can stand upright. When your tears fall and you do not understand why you must suffer so much, I wipe them away with my silent yet powerful presence. You think you are alone, but every step you take is preceded by my footsteps clearing the way, keeping the rhythm, and soothing the fears you do not dare to speak out loud. You often worry that when the fire of trial flares up, you will be burned until there is no hope left. But my child, the fires of this life cannot destroy your soul if you let yourself fall into my arms. When you walk through days that seem to have no way out, I am the cloak wrapped around you, not allowing the flames to touch what is most pure within you. I see how you try to stand firm, even while your heart is trembling, how you swallow your sobs so the people around you will not see you as weak. I see the nights you lie awake, blaming yourself for not living up to the expectations you once set for your own life. But I also see something you do not see, that precisely in those heaviest steps, you have become stronger, deeper, and truer to yourself. And every time you rise up from the ashes of your regrets, I am more proud of you than you could ever imagine. You think I will stop everything that causes you pain, but my love is not to build you a high wall that blocks out every dust and wind. My love is to hold your hand when you step into the desert, so that you do not collapse in the drought, to embrace you when you think you are being swallowed whole by the storm, to whisper to you not to be afraid when your legs are shaking because the road is too dark. You will pass through fire, but that fire will not consume you. You will walk in deep waters, but those waters will not drown you. You will face the things that choke your heart, but none of them can steal away the life I have sown in you. You only need to walk with me, and all that once seemed impossible to overcome will become lessons that make your soul steadfast. And my child, what I most desire for you to understand is this: only when you allow me to lead will you step into what is truly best for you, not what is easiest, but what heals you from the very root. You must trust me, even when the road ahead has no clear answer. You must trust me, even when everything is not unfolding the way you hoped. You must trust me, even when I am silent for a long time, as if I do not care about your cries for help. But remember this: my silence is never my absence. Silence is the space where you can hear the deepest things within your own heart, and where you learn to recognize my voice without confusing it with the voice of fear or the lying whispers the world keeps murmuring in your ear. When you choose to follow me, you do not have to understand everything at once. You only need to take one small step at a time, with just enough faith to keep you standing on the days when all you want is to sit down and give up. There are moments when I let you see the path clearly, but there are also times when I only light up a very short stretch, just enough for you to walk, not enough for you to run. Because I know that if you saw the whole picture, you would be terrified. But when you see only a small portion, you focus on each step and hold on to my hand more tightly. I do not want you to carry everything alone, nor do I want you to struggle in your own plans until you are exhausted. I want you to find rest by leaning on me, so that I can shoulder what is too heavy for you. You often ask me, why must I go through suffering? Why can't it be simpler? Why can't it be faster? Why can't it be another road? But my child, there are things that can only be learned in hardship. There are graces that only blossom when the soil of your heart has been plowed deep by trials. There is a kind of strength that appears only when you have nothing left to lean on but me. I do not delight in your pain, but I know what is necessary for you to become the most beautiful version of yourself that I envisioned from the very beginning. When you consent to let me guide you, you will realize that even the darkest days have a purpose. They do not come to crush you, but to open your eyes to what you have never seen before. You are the child I love, and I have never wanted you to live in fear. I want your heart to know peace, to know how to take refuge, to know how to trust in the one who always goes before you. If I let you walk through fire, it is to burn away what does not belong to you. If I let you pass through storms, it is so you learn how to stand firm in any circumstance. If I let you walk through darkness, it is so you realize that the light is not outside of you, but in me, the one who has never abandoned you. Let me walk with you. Let me lead you to the place where your soul is brought back to life. For once you journey with me, you will see that what you thought was an ending is in truth only a new beginning, more beautiful, brighter, and deeper than anything you have ever dared to desire. You only need to trust me a little more. Everything else I will take care of for you. My child, I beg you, do not wait until your heart has grown cold like a stone worn down by time before you think of returning to me. There are things that, if left for too long, not only sting your soul with pain but also steal from you the ability to feel life from within. Do not let yourself reach the point where what is wrong becomes a habit, where wounds become normal, and where the distance between you and me becomes so familiar that you no longer even feel afraid of it. Every time you stay silent before my call, every time you ignore the gentle prompting I place in your heart, you are laying one more layer of mist over your soul. At first it is only a thin veil that could easily be blown away, but day after day it thickens into a wall through which my light can no longer shine. You do not see that change immediately. You do not notice each line of hardness as it forms, but I see it clearly, bit by bit. You are drifting away from the safe harbor I prepared for you from the dawn of creation. There will come a time when, if you continue to turn away from me, the truly frightening thing will no longer be that you make mistakes, but that you no longer feel that they are mistakes at all. A hardened heart no longer feels pain when it does what harms itself. It no longer knows shame when it leaves the path of light. It no longer feels uneasy when it walks into darkness. And what pierces me most deeply is when you can no longer hear my voice, even though I am still calling you with all the patience that love can hold. That is the most dangerous kind of silence. Not that I am silent toward you, but that your heart no longer has room for me to resound. My child, I did not create you to live in such numbness. I did not create your heart to become cracked, arid ground where no drop of grace can sink in. I gave you the capacity to be moved, to feel sorrow and joy, to turn toward the light, to tremble before the holiness I have planted within you. Yet when you ignore my voice too many times, when you make choices that lead you away from me, your soul will gradually lose those very responses. You will find yourself untroubled by what once kept you awake at night. You will find yourself no longer broken over what previously brought you to your knees. You will find you no longer feel remorse for doing wrong, no longer tremble when you hurt another, no longer ache when you turn your back on me. And that is the deepest abyss, not the greatest sin, but the greatest coldness. I never want you to fall into that state. I do not want your heart to become a bare, leafless trunk, standing alone in the desert, where the night wind can topple it at any moment. I want your heart to be soft like freshly plowed soil, so that when I sow my word into it, it can take root and grow. I want your soul to be as sensitive as an instrument carefully tuned, so that even the lightest touch from me is enough for you to notice. But when you nurture hardness within yourself, you are unknowingly interrupting the very good you long for. You thirst for peace, yet you refuse to step into the place of peace. You thirst for warmth, yet you avoid my embrace. You thirst for new life, yet cling to old habits that drain your soul. I speak these things to you, not to shame you, nor to punish you. I speak with the voice of a father watching his child draw near to the edge of a cliff without realizing it. I do not want to shout at you in anger. I want to call you with a tenderness so gentle that you cannot help but stop, reflect, and sense that what I say is not pressure, but love. There are wounds that must hurt in order to heal, and there are words that must awaken in order to save a soul that is sliding downward. If I were truly silent, that would be the moment you should be most afraid, for I am only silent when your heart is no longer open to receive me. Do not brush aside this tenderness. Many think that gentle warnings are weakness, but my child, this is how I hold you with a kind of love no storm can break. When I remind you softly, it is not because I underestimate the danger, but because I honor your soul enough not to force you, not to coerce you, not to control you like an object. I want you to return of your own will. I want you to awaken by your own choice. I want you to see with your own eyes the chasm ahead that I have long seen. For true love is not dragging you back with a chain, but stretching out my hand and waiting for you to take hold. My love is not a love that only caresses, nor is it a love that is only strict. It is the perfect blend of both. It has the warmth to soothe you when you are weary, and it has the sharpness to rouse you when you are walking into danger. This love knows when to wrap you in an embrace and when to stir your heart with a word that makes you stop. This love does not hide the truth, but it does not crush you under that truth. It corrects you without breaking you. It warns you without driving you to despair. It turns you toward the light without leaving you feeling abandoned along the way. When I say to you, stop, it is not a command. It is the cry of a father who is afraid of losing his child. When I say, come back, it is not a reproach. It is a plea rising from an endless mercy. I know you are tired. I know you are confused. I know you are afraid to face yourself. But I also know that, deep inside, you still long for a place to rest, for a hand to hold, for a voice gentle enough to melt the ice around your heart, and I, myself, am that place. Do not think that turning back is a failure. Do not think that stopping is weakness. Do not think that admitting you are lost is shameful. My child, the brave one is not the one who never falls, but the one who still knows how to turn back to the right path. And never, not even for a single second, have I stopped being ready to welcome you home. I wait for you not in disappointment, but in hope. I do not wait for you with my arms folded across my chest, but with both arms wide open, just as when I first gave you life. And as soon as you take one step towards me, even if that step is trembling, I will walk towards you across a distance so long you could never imagine it. Let this warning touch you, not like a blow, but like a gentle shake, a warm hand on your shoulder, a whisper just strong enough to keep you from slipping over the edge. I call you with all my love. Do not take another step into that darkness. You do not belong there. You belong to me. You belong to the light. You belong to life. And I want you to begin again right now, this very moment, before your heart grows so numb that it can no longer hear my voice calling you. Come back, my child. I am here. I have never left you. Just one breath of humility, one small plea, one slight opening of your heart is enough. I will step in and rescue you from the numbness that is trying to swallow your soul. You do not have to struggle on your own. You do not have to drag yourself out of the darkness by yourself. You only need to take my hand. The rest, let me take care of it. My child, do not wait for a dazzling moment to return to me, because the moment you are waiting for is like a mirage in the desert. The more you walk towards it, the farther it recedes, leaving your soul parched and exhausted before it ever reaches a drop of water. You think you must fix yourself first, become better, smooth out the wrinkles in your soul before you dare come near me. But you do not know that the only thing I have waited for, ever since I shaped you with my own hands, is the moment you walk towards me exactly as you are now, carrying your broken pieces, your scars and chips, the cracks that have gone untouched for so long, the muddy patches you hide behind a facade of forced strength. The longer you wait to be perfect, the more you are late to your own life, for none of you can complete yourselves before coming to me. I am the one who brings you. back to wholeness, not the other way around. I know there are days when you do not dare look yourself in the eye. You fear that the truth about who you are will crush you, fear that if I see everything, I will turn my back on you. You carry old feelings of shame like heavy stones in your pockets, walking with a burdened step yet still trying to act as though everything is normal. You lock yourself inside thoughts like, I am not worthy, I am too filthy, I have gone too far to return, until your mind is so worn out it no longer has the strength to dream of peace. But my child, I have seen you since the time you did not even know how to name your own sorrow. What you try to hide, I already know. What you are afraid to admit, I already understand. And even so, I still call your name every day, still let my light gently shine into your heart without forcing you, without condemning you, only inviting you to come a little closer to me. I do not look for perfection in you. I look for a longing to be healed, for the humility to recognize that you need me. Do not think that the chaos within you is a burden that makes me hesitant to touch you. No, my beloved, it is precisely those things that draw me closer to you. I am the physician who does not hesitate to enter the suffocating hospital room, who is not afraid of bleeding wounds or festering sores, because I do not look at your soul through the rough cloth you use to cover it. I see through it all, down to the place where beauty has been covered in dust for so long, to the place where life is still smoldering within you like a green shoot that has not yet broken through the soil. I am the one who can heal what you thought was ruined forever, can warm the cold corners inside you, can kindle a flame where your lamp seems to hold only a wisp of smoke. There has never been a patient who sincerely desired to be restored that I have abandoned. There has never been a heart that opened even the slightest crack that I did not gently step into. You are not too broken for me to save, not too late for me to mend, not too weak for me to lift up. The only thing that can truly distance you from me is your belief that I no longer want you, but, my child, that will never be true. I never reject a bruised reed, never snuff out a smoldering wick. On the contrary, I place my hand over it to shield it. I support it. I keep the flame alive for you when you are too weary to try one more time. I do not drive away the trembling soul, neither do I despise the heart that has collapsed. But you must know this, I am not someone for you to play with. I will not share your heart with things that pull you away from me, will not stand side by side with the substitutes you accept for the time being, will not sit at the same table with the idols you build out of loneliness or the craving to be understood. You do not need to be perfect to come to me, but you must come and come for real. I do not accept only a part of your heart. I want your whole soul, your entire being, every corner you think no one would dare enter. I demand this not because I lack love or need to prove anything. I ask for your all because that wholeness is the only thing that can keep you truly alive. You often think that I am jealous, the way humans are afraid of being abandoned, afraid of losing my place, but that is not so. I am stronger than any reality you have ever known. I am not shaken by anyone's choices, yet I care passionately about you in particular. My jealousy is the jealousy of one who knows that no idol, whether fame, money, pleasure, or human love, can give you the fullness your soul aches for. These things only fill you for a moment, then leave behind an emptiness deeper than before. They are like seawater. You drink it thinking it will quench your thirst, but the more you drink, the thirstier you become. I am not jealous because I want to keep you as a possession. I am jealous because I want to keep you from the very things that are killing you without your knowing it. You have chased after these things before, haven't you? I have seen you running yourself ragged after a feeling of being recognized, being loved, belonging somewhere, yet the more you ran, the more breathless and empty you felt. The things you clung to promised to fill you, but they left you as weary as a traveler who has drunk polluted water. The more he drinks, the more his strength withers, And when you look back at me from a distance, you think you are no longer worthy to come close. But my beloved, nothing you have ever chosen can make me abandon my intention to save you. No mistake, no wound, no reckless plunge into sin has ever made me withdraw my love. Wherever you have fallen, I come to that very place. However stained you are, I touch you to that very depth. The more desperate you are, the nearer I draw to you. I know you have fought to hold on to what little light was left in your heart, but there came a time when that light grew so faint that even you could scarcely see it. On the days you wanted to give up, I still stood beside you, not speaking loudly, not forcing you, only whispering so that your soul would not forget that it still belongs to me. I do not choose perfect people. I choose people so that I may perfect them. You do not need to bring me the best version of yourself. You only need to bring me your true self, and the rest I will do. But you must understand this. I do not invite you to come just so that you can remain as you are. I heal you so that you may stand, so that you may live, so that you may be free. I want to cut off the poisonous roots within you, to break the invisible chains that bind you, to shatter the voices in your mind that keep telling you that you are worthless. I want you to walk with me so that you may know you were created not to live under self-condemnation, not in fear of abandonment, not in the constant feeling that you will never be enough. You belong to me. No idol loves you as I do. No sweet promise in this world protects you as I do. Nothing you chase after can heal you as I can. Come to me now. Do not wait until your heart stops trembling. Do not wait until your past disappears. Do not wait until you feel worthy. Worthiness does not lie in you, it lies in the love I have for you. You only need to take a step. I will carry the hard part. You only need to desire to return. I will open the way. You only need to rekindle a tiny spark of longing. I will blow that spark into a shining light. My child, there is nothing else that can save you but me. Not because I am arbitrary, but because nothing else is strong enough to reach the deepest part of your soul. Nothing else is real enough to give you true freedom. Nothing else is enduring enough to hold you in peace. You have tried many places already, haven't you? And you see, none of them has been able to keep you. None of them knows you better than the one who created you. Let me do what I have always longed to do, to hold you, to lift you up, to heal you, and to shape you into the person I destined you to become from the very beginning. My beloved child, I know your heart is troubled by all that is happening around you. The world you live in is no longer as peaceful as before. Things that once seemed solid are constantly being shaken, and your heart grows weary as though it were bearing the size of all humanity. You see conflicts rising. You see hearts growing callous. You see beauty torn apart by hands that no longer know how to revere what is sacred. You hear the earth groaning under exploitation and violation. Hear the cries of the innocent left in the shadows. Hear the wordless sighs of souls that have lost their way. You see people calling darkness light, calling lies truth, calling indifference a right to freedom. And all of this confuses you so deeply that you feel as if you are standing before a world where everything has been turned upside down, where you do not know what to hold on to in order to stay balanced. But my child, I want you to listen to this. Nothing that is happening surprises me, for all of it has been foretold not to frighten you, but so that you may know that I am in control of all things, far beyond your sight. I know there are moments when you feel as if you are living in a great storm, where everything is spinning wildly. But I want you to understand that even the winds and the sea cannot go beyond my command. You are only seeing the surface of what is being exposed. I see the very roots of the quiet movements in the unseen realm where your eyes cannot yet reach. And yet, in the midst of all this chaos, I still see one thing that you have never lost. It is the faint light within your heart, the light that darkness cannot extinguish, no matter how hard it tries. My child, do not be afraid when you see the love of many grow cold. when kindness is dismissed as weakness, when goodness is misunderstood, when pure laughter is replaced by hollow echoes. I know you are saddened as you watch people you once trusted drift away from what is true, willing to trade their conscience in order to chase what is pleasing in the eyes of the world. You hurt when you see many no longer wanting to hear the truth, but only wanting to hear what indulges their ego. You grow weary when you see my name being trampled, my teachings being mocked as though they were something outdated. But my child, do not let these things drag you into despair, for I have already told you that such days would come. When darkness thickens, light becomes all the more distinct. When evil rises with greater force, that is also when I am preparing a deeper intervention. Look with the eyes of your soul, not only with the eyes of your flesh, for if you rely only on what you see in front of you, you will think that I am absent. Yet I am here, right beside you, closer than the very breath you draw. I know every small tremor in your heart. I know each fear that slips in when you are most tired. I know every time you feel like giving up and then somehow manage to stand again. And I tell you that in those very moments when you feel the weakest is when I am holding you the tightest. Nothing comes to you without my knowing, and there is no night so dark that my dawn will not replace it. Listen to me. Do not withdraw into yourself. Do not cut yourself off from those who are still holding fast to faith. Do not, because you see the world in turmoil, run away into some dark corner to protect yourself. I did not create you to live in isolation, to wear loneliness like a heavy coat upon your shoulders. You are not alone, and I do not want you to be alone. There are still those who love me, humble souls who bow their heads in quiet prayer, people who choose the small, simple, honest path instead of the wide road that leads to emptiness. They do not put themselves on display. They are not noisy. They do not seek glory from the world, yet they are the small hidden flames I am using to keep this world from going out entirely. I want you to seek them out, to connect with them, to support one another, to keep together the flame that is being slowly blown out by the winds of life. You need them, and they need you. Your soul will grow stronger in the communion of those who fear me, just as a single stick burns bright only when it lies in the fire, but quickly dies when it is pulled away on its own. Do not let the weariness of the world convince you that you are alone in the midst of a crowded street. I always have those who belong to me, those who have prepared their hearts to keep the light burning, no matter how thick the surrounding darkness may be. Remember that time is no longer as long as it once seemed. This is not to frighten you, but to awaken you. The upheavals around you are not random. They are a gentle yet clear reminder that you are not allowed to live carelessly with your soul. Every beat of your heart is an invitation to return. Every breath you take is an opportunity I give you to choose again what is right. You still have time, but not to delay, rather to live more deeply, more awake, more truly in love. Do not let postponement become the thief that steals your peace yet again. Do not let fear paralyze your soul at the very hour when you need to be strongest. You were not born to be swallowed up by the movements of this world, but to stand as a living witness that light is always stronger than darkness. And my child, in these days when the storms seem unceasing, I want you to lift up your head, not to appear proud, but so that you may see the sky I am opening before you. When everything around you becomes uncertain and vague, remember that my word never changes. When everything seems to be collapsing, remember that I alone do not change. Lift up your head so that you may see that your deliverance does not come from human beings, does not come from passing things, but comes from me, the one who knew you before you were formed in your mother's womb. You belong to me, and no storm can erase that truth. Though circumstances may shift, though hearts may grow cold, though the world may sink into darkness, I ask you, keep your heart warm. Keep love alive. Keep the desire to build what is good. Keep the longing to become more like me each day. You do not need to do anything grand in the eyes of the world. You only need to be faithful in the smallest things. Every loving action, every gentle word, every time you choose to forgive instead of complain, every time you choose to walk in the light instead of hiding in the shadows, all of these are small stones rebuilding this world. I do not want you merely to sit and watch the darkness spread. I want you to be the one who lights a lamp right where you stand. And finally, remember this: I am with you. Not as a vague idea, not as empty words of consolation, but as a powerful, unchanging reality. I am beside you when you weep alone, when you are so tired that you cannot even form a prayer, when you feel your soul sinking into invisible fears. I am present in every tear, every sigh, every desire to live rightly that you do not dare share with anyone. You do not walk alone, you never have, and you never will. And I only ask that you step toward me, even if it is just a small step, for I will run to you with all the love of mine that never runs dry. My beloved child, the world is as noisy as waves crashing endlessly against the shore, but if you are willing to sit still and let your heart slow down for a moment, you will realize that my voice has always been sounding beneath all that noise. I do not shout into your ears. I do not force you to pay attention, yet I continue to speak in the tiny pockets of silence between your tangled thoughts. When night falls and your heart feels as heavy as stone, I am still carefully placing words of comfort into those dark corners that even you believed no one could ever touch. I never stand far off, never turn my face away from shattered souls. On the contrary, it is precisely at the place of your deepest pain that I stand closest. You ask me why so many people do not pay attention to me, why they so easily forget my name amid the rush of life, and why it is only when fate tightens around them that they think of seeking me. You wonder why the one who breathed life into them is treated like a passing thought, like a faded memory, like a name called only when every other hope is gone. You want to understand how humanity can be so unfeeling toward the very source of its life. I hear your confusion, and I want you to know that I do not speak to condemn humanity, nor to plant despair, but to open your eyes to the hidden laws of the soul that they refuse to see. I see through every thought before it even takes shape. I see the true motives hidden beneath actions that appear virtuous, and I know exactly when someone is using a holy exterior to conceal the storms raging in their heart. No mask can hide a person from me. No explanation can mislead me. No barrier is strong enough to keep me from seeing the true condition of each soul. I am so patient that people think I grow weary, so merciful that they imagine I will tolerate even the most unreasonable disregard. But my child, my mercy is not a carpet for humankind to trample at will. My patience is not a license for them to use me as a lifebuoy to be grasped only when the sea of life pulls them under. There are seasons when I wait, but there are also moments when I rise and let them understand that my holiness is not something anyone may treat lightly. Many imagine that they know me, but in reality they know only rumors, fragments of others' memories, or distorted versions of me reshaped to fit their own comfort. Some treat me as a tool to help them feel better, as a screen to shield their conscience. Some remember me only in desperation, treating me as the last option, a miracle to be invoked when there is no other way. Others turn me into ritual, into habit, into cold tradition, until their hearts grow so numb that they no longer tremble at the sound of my name. Do you know what wounds me the most? Not when they fail, nor even when they hurt one another, but when they tell themselves that I do not matter, or worse, when they pretend to follow me, yet never truly allow me to enter their hearts. How many times have I watched prayers repeated over and over without a trace of soul in them? How many times have I heard hymns sung while their hearts are immersed in human ambitions that can never be satisfied? You ask me why their hearts grow cold, why they become numb to my call. I tell you, It is not because they have never heard me, but because they will not pause long enough to let my word pierce through their pride. In many hearts, I have become something nice to have rather than essential. To have a concept rather than a living being, an optional choice instead of the very foundation of the soul. They use my goodness as an excuse for their irresponsibility, thinking that I will always forgive, always be patient, always remain silent. Yet you must know this: my silence is not agreement. It is the time I give them to examine their hearts. My forbearance is not weakness. It is the opportunity I offer them to turn back before they wander too far into the dark. My dear child, what causes people to take me lightly is the illusion that they control their own lives. They believe that wealth, status, talent, intelligence, or relationships are enough to keep them standing. But when the storm comes, they tremble. When the night descends, they lose their way. When loss knocks at the door, they panic. When their souls are exhausted, they seek me only in desperation. They pour all their strength into clinging to what cannot last, only to discover that everything in this world can be taken away unless it has been placed in my hands. And yet, instead of coming to me in trust, they approach as though in negotiation, as if I were the one required to satisfy their conditions. They demand that I prove my love for them, even though every breath they take is already proof enough. My beloved, what I want you to grasp is not that people are utterly wicked, but that they do not know what they are truly thirsting for. They think they need success, power, recognition, control, but in truth they are thirsting for me. A soul created by me will never find true rest until it returns to me. What they despise, what they push out of their lives, is actually the only thing capable of healing the deepest parts of their hearts. They forget me because they do not believe I am close. They stay far from me because they imagine I am distant. But I never build that distance. They build it themselves through their small daily choices, choices that gradually blind them to me and blind them to themselves. I want you to recognize something important. When you see the world indifferent to me, that says nothing about my worth, it reveals the brokenness of humanity. Their spirits are like cracked, sun-scorched earth, like hardened stone, like fields that have never received seed. They do not know who I am, and so they do not know who they are. They do not understand the source of life, so they live as though they have no purpose. They do not hear my voice, so they chase after the loud calls of ambition, desire, envy, and rivalry. And in the end, all they are left with is a vast emptiness that nothing in this world can fill. I tell you these things not so that you despair of humankind, but so that you learn to see them with my own eyes, eyes that are both wounded and compassionate, sorrowful yet persevering, that see their sin and yet also see what they can become. They do not know me because they fear that I will expose the dark corners they guard so carefully. They will not draw near because they are afraid I will ask them to let go of something they cling to. They do not call on me because they do not want to hear the truth about themselves. Yet I do not wish to strip them of their freedom. I only long to free them from the chains they themselves have fastened around their own hands. And my child, remember this: the more people despise me, the more I seek out hearts that are willing to listen. I do not look at the majority. I look at the souls who know how to bow, how to open themselves, how to dare to admit that they need me. If the world can so easily forget me, then all the more will I keep reminding those who still love me that I have never forgotten them. Though human hearts may change, I remain the same. Though they draw back, I still move closer. Though they hold me in contempt, I still patiently wait for the moment they turn back. Come closer to me, for when you are near, you will hear clearly the pain I see in humanity, and you will also hear clearly the gentle heartbeat that I keep just for you. You will understand that my holiness is not a wall that makes you afraid, but a shelter where you are healed. You will understand that my silence is not an empty space of abandonment, but a room in which you can hear your own voice and realize you still belong to me. And when you understand me more, you will never again make light of me, never again treat me as a last resort, never again let me become the option that stands behind anything else. My child, I have watched humankind from the very beginning. I know every rise and fall in their history. I know their uprisings, the times they rebelled against me, the seasons when they lived as if I did not exist. But I also know their capacity to return, their capacity to be softened, their capacity to let me renew their minds. No matter how many people despise me, my eyes are still turned towards souls like yours, souls that still know how to ask, how to seek, how to wonder, how to long to hear me speak. As long as you keep that kind of heart, as long as you do not let the noise of the world drown out my voice, you will always recognize that I am closer than your very breath. And when you walk through a world that makes light of me, remember that I never make light of you. I know every sorrowful beat in your heart, every sleepless night, every tear you swallow, every time you try to be strong while your heart still trembles. I am right there, not to condemn you, but to lift you up, so that you will not be dissolved into the indifference that is spreading everywhere, so that you can keep your light in a world that is slowly losing itself. You are the child I love, and when the world wears you down, run back to me, for I never grow weary of holding you. My child, be still for a moment and listen to me, for these words are not meant to make you tremble in fear, but to remind you to whom you belong. I am the one who called the universe out of nothing, the one who only needs to speak a word for the seas to roar, for the stars to each find their appointed place in the heavens. I am the one before whom the angels must cover their faces, because the glory is too radiant, so radiant that all creation bows low and cries out without ceasing, "Holy." Understand that I am not a vague idea, not a lifebuoy people throw to themselves when life tilts, and not a temporary option that you can insert into or remove from your schedule like something merely useful. You cannot treat me as an emergency tool to pull out when storms come and then put away when the sun appears. I am not the God of disasters. I am the God of presence, present in every drop of air you breathe, in every heartbeat you cannot possibly control on your own, in every morning you wake up without knowing why you are still here. All these things exist because I am still sustaining your life, not because of the strength or self-reliance you sometimes think you are holding on to. And, though I encompass all things, though my name makes all heaven bow in worship, I still stoop down to speak with you without demanding to be honored in the ways humans expect from one another. I do not come to you because I need you, but because you need me. I do not speak in order to impose, but to save your soul from chasms you yourself cannot see. But my child, love that is misunderstood becomes dangerous. When grace is treated as permissiveness, when my patience is mistaken for indifferent silence, when my waiting is taken as a sign that I do not care, that is when your soul has drifted farthest. For when you believe that my love is something you can exploit, you begin to allow yourself to live scattered, live carelessly, live by instinct, instead of living in the light. Gradually, you make light of holiness. You trivialize my words. You think that as long as you are still breathing, every mistake can be easily fixed, and you do not realize that with each delay another layer of dust settles on your heart. Human beings, when they are too focused on themselves, often lose the ability to see me. When your eyes are fixed on your own glory, when you care only about whatever satisfies your fragile ego, you no longer have enough stillness to recognize my presence beside you. You chase after the dreams you build for yourself, you erect a kingdom you believe is secure, and you decorate your life with noise so that you do not have to hear your conscience warning you. You become so busy that you forget what keeps you truly human. You become so hurried that you no longer notice the sacred presence hidden in the simplest things. And when you succeed, you pound your chest as if you have lifted yourself up by your own strength. Yet when you fail, you look at me with eyes of accusation, as if I were the reason for your collapse. You do not see that both attitudes spring from the same root, an invisible pride that obscures the truth that I am still the one upholding all things. Every achievement of yours stands on the ground I created. Every road you walk lies within the space I sustain. Every breath you have is being held by my hand. And yet at times you live as if you were the center of the whole world. The root of all that distance from Eden long ago until this very day has always been just one thing: pride. Not the loud pride that others easily notice, but the quietest, most subtle kind of pride, the belief that you do not need me. You do not say it out loud, but your heart whispers, I can manage on my own. I do not need to ask anyone for help. I can take care of my own life. And in that very moment, you have believed the oldest lie of the enemy, the lie that you can save yourself. That pride pulls your soul away from the gentle light of my presence and plunges it into beautiful but fragile illusions. It makes you seek security in things that are never secure, seek meaning in things that are always changing, build your hope on things that are not truly stable. Then you cling to broken pieces you mistake for harbors, and when they collapse, your soul cracks with them. In that moment, a callous layer begins to form around your heart. Not in a single day, not by one big event, but through hundreds of small choices. One time turning away instead of praying, one time choosing anger instead of forgiveness, one time believing in fear instead of trusting me, one time choosing noise instead of the stillness in which you could hear my voice. Each choice is like a drop of stone falling on the same spot, forming a hard shell around your soul. By the time you want to hear me, my voice seems like a distant echo, not because I am silent, but because your heart is no longer soft enough to receive it. You keep thinking I am far away, but in reality it is you who have built the thick wall that blocks out every ray of my light. But my child, no matter how calloused your heart has become, I have never taken my eyes off you. Your numbness does not make me despise you, nor does it stop me from seeking you. My love is not as fragile as human love, to be shaken by your coldness. I do not come to condemn, I come to rescue. I do not come to expose your weakness. I come to hold that weakness close to my heart. I do not want you to live in guilt or fear. I want you to understand that every hardened layer can melt away when you return to me, even if only with a single small cry, a brief moment of silence, a single breath that knows it no longer wants to play God over its own life. And when you realize that you need me again, not because you are desperate, but because you understand that your soul truly lives only when it has me, that is when I will breathe back into you the warmth you had forgotten. I will gently peel away each hardened layer around your heart so that light can touch the places you once feared to face. I will heal the wounds you inflicted on yourself through your stubbornness, and I will do it not with thunder, but with a tenderness that makes your soul soft again. My beloved, let me lead you further on the journey, for what I desire for you is not that you live in fear of me, but that you know me deeply enough to stop living as though you could exist on your own. And when you know me like that, all illusions of self-reliance, self-control, and self-salvation will fade, making room for true freedom, the freedom of a soul that has found its home in my arms. My precious child, pause for a moment in the rush that is sweeping you along and look straight at this question. Is there anything in this world worth the price of your own soul? You may gather into your hands all that people long for, reach heights you never dared to imagine as a child, make many lift their eyes to you because of the blazing success you construct day by day. But I ask you, is it worth it if your heart is exhausted, if your soul is being worn down in secret, if your nights are spent awake in fear of losing? what you are holding on to. I have seen so many people clasp the whole world to their chest while their hearts are empty, as if they were holding sand from the sea. The tighter they squeeze, the more it slips through their fingers. The world tells you that satisfaction is just there ahead, that you only need to run a little faster, try a little harder, sacrifice a little more, and then you will have everything. But the closer you move toward that false light, the darker your soul becomes, because it is not true light at all, only a fragile flame fueled by human desire, a flame that dies the moment the wind changes. I see you, and I know that you once believed that if you could only touch those glittering things, your restlessness would finally cease. You hurled yourself into the race that millions of others are running, each one thinking that by having more than the rest, their hearts will be more at peace. You also believed that money could buy safety, fame could cover old wounds, power could remove fear, and pleasure could temporarily fill the emptiness inside. Yet after every chase, when the door of your room closes, when the outer noise dies down, you still hear a sigh within the sigh of your soul, tired from being forced to run after things that are never enough. You may try to cover that emptiness with new plans, new projects, new passions that flare up and burn out, but all of it is like trying to put out fire with smoke. The more you do, the more the flame inside you rises up again. My child, I know there are moments when you tell yourself that you still have time. You think you are still young, still strong, that you still have so many years to make things right, so many seasons to return, that today you can live as you please, and when your hair turns white, when your legs grow weak, when sickness knocks at your door, you will lift your eyes and look for me. I have heard those words from millions of lips, and I have watched millions of souls fall into the snare of that very thought. The deception of time lies in your belief that it will always wait for you, but time never waits for anyone. You think that a whispered prayer at the end of your life will be enough to repair an entire lifetime lived far from me, but you do not understand that a heart distant from me for too long will harden like stone, to the point that when you wish to open your mouth to pray, you no longer know what to say. I have seen people on their sickbeds struggling to move their lips, trying to reach for me with words that never fully form, while their souls are covered with the thick dust of a life spent ignoring my voice. I have heard calls so faint, so fragile that it seems their very souls no longer recognize the language of repentance. They want to come back, but they no longer know the way. It is not because I reject them. I have never turned my back on any of my children, but they have let too much noise, too much darkness, too many old habits wear down their ability to recognize my voice. I am always there. My voice does not change. My waiting does not fade, but their hearts have grown accustomed to turning away. When my light shines in, it no longer warms them. It blinds them, frightens them, like someone stepping out of a room that has been dark for far too long. Do not mistake my mercy for indulgence. I am a father, yes, a father whose love is so deep no one can fully comprehend it. I am willing to wait, willing to embrace you the moment you return, but I am also the one who is just. Do you know what causes me to tremble more than your rebellion? It is when you reject me in silence, not out of hatred, but because you think that I do not matter. A cold heart is not as frightening as a calloused one. Coldness can be warmed, but callousness is when you lose the capacity to feel love, to recognize my call, to be moved by what is holy. You assume that as long as I forgive, everything will go back to the way it was, but you do not see that every time you walk away from me, you leave a crack across your own soul. Every small compromise, every time you say, just this once, every time you close your eyes and let it pass, all of it carves marks into you that a single apology cannot erase in an instant. Do not think I say this to frighten you. I say it so that you may see the truth. I do not want you to lose what is most precious in you, not your talents, not your health, not your future, but your soul. You can lose all those other things and still live, but if your soul is lost, you will no longer know who you are. I did not create you to become a hollow shadow, chasing after the calls of the world. I created you so that you might reflect my light, so that you might live as someone who knows they are loved, chosen, and guided by what is eternal, not by what quickly fades. There have been those whom I have loved with the most passionate love, yet they went so far that they could no longer hear me, not because I stopped speaking, but because they lost the ability to listen. My call is always gentle, always soft, always a quiet knocking at the door of the heart, never a shout that forces its way in. But when you let pleasures, ambitions, passions, and worries pile up to block that door, my call is stopped, like waves crashing against a thick rock. It is heard, perhaps, but it never soaks into the inside. You think that at some point you will automatically know the way home, but I want you to know a painful yet luminous truth. Not everyone returns. Not because I grow tired or give up, I never give up on you, but because they themselves have lost the capacity to recognize the road back. When light no longer brings them joy, when love no longer stirs them, when holiness no longer awakens any longing in them, they walk farther and farther away, until they finally convince themselves that I never called them at all. That is humanity's deepest tragedy. Not that I abandoned them, but that they no longer realize that the world has quietly replaced my image within their hearts, without them even noticing when it happened. And I do not want that to happen to you, never. You belonged to me from before you had a form. You are my joyful sigh when you were being knit together in your mother's womb. You are the reason I guard each of your breaths every morning. I call you not to take away your freedom, but to give you back to yourself, the most beautiful, brightest, truest version of your own soul. Do not wait until your heart is too callous to feel me. Do not wait until the things you chase have drained you dry before you come back to ask me to heal you. Do not wait until the moment you stretch out your hand toward me and find that your hand has grown too cold to receive the warmth I offer. Come back while you still know you are lost. Come back while your heart can still tremble at the sound of my name. Come back while you still feel a little emptiness inside, because that very emptiness is the place where I long to enter. You may think you are coming too late, but I tell you that the latest moment is the one in which you still have not returned. Open your heart today, and I will step in today. Tear away the hard shell around you, and I will place new life within you. Take even a small step back toward me, and I will run to you with 1,000 great strides, for I am your Father, and I am only waiting for that. My beloved child, let me speak to you slowly, deeply, as if I were sitting right in front of you with my hands resting on your tired shoulders. You have heard many times that I am gentle, that I do not impose, that I do not roar, and so people often treat me like a passing breeze so light that it seems unworthy of attention. People are accustomed to what is loud and forceful, to things that hammer into their eyes, their ears, their emotions before they call them important. But I come in tenderness. I enter your soul like the first light of dawn slipping into a room, not to startle, not to disturb, but enough to awaken what has been sleeping deep inside you. And because I am gentle, many think I am fragile. Because I do not coerce, many mistake me for being distant. Because I am patient, many assume I do not care. They are mistaken, my child. True love has never broken down a door. It only stands there until you choose to open it. I knock at every heart, not to break in, but to see who still remembers me. I do not smash the lock, nor do I use thunder to shake the door. I place only a soft knock, a quiet call, a tender invitation. I knock not because I need anything from them, but because I know that what awaits them outside that door can never compare to what I long to give. But you know, when a person's heart is full of noise, they hear nothing but themselves, the noise of worry, the noise of desire, the noise of ambitions that swallow their hearts whole. The noise of the words they keep repeating to themselves. I must be strong. I can handle it on my own. I don't need anyone. And amid all those sounds, my voice, a whisper of truth and love, is drowned out. Not because it is weak, but because they no longer have the space within to listen. And so they keep walking as if life were a wide open road that needs no direction. They think the ground beneath their feet will always be steady, that their own strength is enough to hold everything together. They pour themselves into building the future as they envision it. More work, more money, more recognition, more achievements. And every time I whisper, stop for a moment, they tell me they are busy. Each time I remind them, look back, they say, it is not yet time. Whenever I invite, let me step in and lead you, they insist they can manage on their own. But then the day comes when the ground they trusted begins to tremble, and when it shakes long enough, hard enough, when everything they tried to cling to starts to slip from their hands, only then do they lift their eyes and look for me. My child, there is a sorrow that only I know. Many remember me only when the storm has nearly swallowed them, when the job they held onto finally collapses, when the one they love turns their back on them, when their body falls ill, when their dreams crack, when their life has nothing left to lean on. I do not complain, I do not grow angry. A broken heart is always something I will hurry toward without delay. When a soul sobs in despair, I do not ask why they came so late. I simply hold them. Like the father who runs down the road to meet his prodigal child while it is still far off, I run toward those whose every cell is steeped in hopelessness. But sometimes, my child, I long for something more. I long to walk with them from the very beginning, not only to appear as a rescue boat when they are already sinking. There are so many things I have prepared for those who want to walk with me, things they have never imagined, a closeness that cannot exist if they only meet me in moments of panic. Just think about it. How can a relationship be deep if it is built only on fear? How can they know my voice, recognize my footsteps, feel my sustaining hand, if they only call on me through their tears? True relationship does not spring up in the storm. It is built on days of gentle wind, in hidden moments when no one is watching, in daily surrender that does not need a crisis to be awakened. I was with the forefathers in Scripture not only when they faced trials. I was with them in every step they took, every meal they shared, every morning when they opened their eyes, every night when they lifted their gaze to the sky and no one knew. I want that with you. I want to walk beside you. I want you to know me, not only as the one who rescues you in danger, but as the one who walks with you on your calmest days. Because, my child, intimacy with me is not born out of screams and cries. It grows in silence. Silence does not leave you alone. It makes room for me to dwell within. I see you. I see even the moments you think no one notices, when you swallow a sigh, when you bury your face in your hands, when you stare at the ceiling at night with a heavy heart. I stand there, not noisy, not demanding attention. I wait for you to look up. I wait for you to let me tell you that I love you more than anything that is hurting you. You do not know how many times I have whispered into your soul, let me be here, but you often think that feeling is just a passing thought, just some emotion arising from within yourself. No, my child, that is me. That is my voice, which you have not yet recognized. I long to speak more with you, but your heart needs to be still. A heart that is too noisy cannot hear the voice of heaven. It is not that I speak softly. It is that you are standing in the midst of 1,000 other calls. You must separate yourself from the sounds that are pulling you away from me day after day. Words of comparison, voices of blame, the self-diminishing thoughts, the ideas you allow to take over your mind. A real relationship with me requires your presence, not your panic. I want you to know that surrender is not the loss of freedom. It is stepping into a freedom you have never tasted. When you give me the first moments of your day, you give me the right to shape your heart. When you offer me the truth inside you, I give you in return a peace the world can never offer. When you place me above everything else, you will see the remaining things fall naturally into their proper place. And when you give me those quiet, hidden moments that no one else knows about, you will see me building within you a strength more silent than any storm in this life. My child, I have watched so many souls pass through life and only meet me in crisis. They live as though my love is only for emergencies. But I want so much more than that for you. I want you to know me deeply enough that you do not have to wait until the ground beneath you collapses before running to me. I want you to build with me a love that is steady and enduring, a love that does not need suffering to prove itself. Let me be the first breath you think of each morning. Let me be the one you know is always here, even when you do not need anything in particular. Walk with me, not because you are afraid of the storm, but because you know who the true refuge is. Seek me in the quiet, because quiet is not emptiness, it is the space I have set aside for just you and me. Give me your presence, even if only for a few seconds, and you will see this relationship grow. Not through loud miracles, but through a depth no one else can see. And it is that very depth that will keep you standing when hard days come, not because you feel no fear, but because you know I am in every breath you take, every step you walk, every choice you make. I am here, not forcing the door, but always knocking, not shouting, but always calling, not coercing, but always waiting. When you are willing to open, I will come in, and everything within you will be rebuilt by the very love I placed in your soul from the beginning. Do you want to hear more from me? I still have so many things I long to say to you. My child, there are those who come to me only when they feel lack, only when they are in despair, only when the ground beneath their feet trembles and they have nowhere else to cling to. But when the storm passes, they walk on as if I had never existed in those moments when they could barely breathe. They open their hearts only when their hands are empty, when they need a miracle, when they want a door to fling open quickly so they can escape their trouble. But when they are lifted up again, when stability returns, they close the door of their hearts as if I were only a temporary stop. They treat me lightly, as a backup resource, as though I were a second option after they have tried everything else. I look at them without anger, only sorrow because they themselves are forfeiting the sweetest things I long to give them. Things that cannot be received when the heart only opens a crack in times of need and shuts again the moment peace returns. You know, some people treat me like a machine they press when they want something to appear immediately. They seek me, not because they love me, but because they want a result, a solution, something that can soothe them at once. They come to me with requests, but not with their hearts. They expect me to pour out blessings like ready-made answers, yet they do not want to spend time listening to my teaching, my reminders, or my correction for the crooked places within them. And when I touch the areas that need to be healed and straightened, they pull back as if I am taking away their freedom. But my child, true love is not giving you whatever you want the moment you want it. True love is giving you what you need so your soul does not wither with time, so that you may live according to the original beauty I placed in you. I see many who care about me only for the benefits, yet refuse relationship. They want me to open the way but do not want me to walk with them. They want me to remove every obstacle, but do not want to remove the pride in their hearts. They want me to rescue, but they do not want to obey. They want the promise, but they do not want to sacrifice. You see, they come for what they can receive, not for who I am. They do not see me as Father, the one who loves them and desires their growth, but only as a safe source of provision when all else fails. And in doing so, they lose the most precious thing of all, the sacred joy that only those who love me with their whole heart can understand, the deep peace that no upheaval can steal, the strength that flows from knowing they are led by one who never makes a mistake. I do not want you to become someone who only seeks me when exhausted, then leaves when peace returns. For if you only know how to run to me because of fear, need, or crisis, you will receive only temporary rescue, not lasting transformation. I want you to walk with me, not only on rough roads, but also on smooth paths, not only in stormy seasons, but also in days of bright sunshine. I want our love not to be confined by circumstances, but to become an unceasing stream flowing within your soul. For when you see me only as a shelter in emergencies, you will never discover the beauty of daily companionship, which is what I prepared for you before the foundation of the world. My child, there are those who want to be protected from pain, yet do not want to be corrected in the very things that cause their pain. I see them avoiding truth, avoiding the light, avoiding letting me straighten the parts of them that lead them astray. They want me to wipe away their tears, but they do not want me to touch the deep wounds that keep them bleeding. But my child, a true father does not only soothe his child, he must also know how to say no, how to prune, how to guide, how to stop what harms his child, even when the child does not understand at the time. I do not correct you to make you suffer, I correct you so you may live. I do not adjust you to make you feel small, I adjust you so you may grow. And my heart aches more than you think every time you refuse that shaping simply because you are afraid to face yourself. You know, many seek answers from me yet do not want to fully surrender to me. They want my guidance but do not want to give me the authority. They want my word but do not want to let go of what they cling to. They want me to reveal the way but insist on keeping the steering wheel of their life in their own hands. My child, my answers mean nothing if you do not let me lead. A person who hears but does not do is like someone standing before an open door yet never stepping through. I want you not only to listen, but to trust enough to move, to yield, to place in my hands the very things you think you cannot release. Do you know that I give you more than anything this world can promise? I do not only save you from the darkness of what is to come, I also long to sustain you in every breath, every decision, every rise and fall of your daily life. I do not only want to keep you from the abyss, I want to walk with you on the green hills where the wind of freedom refreshes your heart. I do not only want to be called Redeemer, I also want to be called Friend, Father, the one who accompanies you in your most ordinary moments. You were not born merely to avoid sin. You were born to live in my presence, a life full of color, full of meaning, full of life, full of truth. I want to speak to you in the stillest hours, when your heart is not crowded by the noise of the world. I want to guide you in each small choice, so you do not have to bear heavy consequences from stubbornly following your own way. I want to transform you, from the inside out, not by force, but by the gentle touch of my spirit, softening your heart, renewing your thoughts, and opening your eyes to see what you have never seen before. You cannot imagine how beautiful your life can become when you allow me to continue writing your story. The joy I want to give does not depend on your salary, your status, your relationships, or your circumstances. It is a joy that flows from my inexhaustible life, a joy that no situation in this world can take away. It is the joy of a soul that knows it is never abandoned, that even when every door on earth is closed, there is still a door in heaven wide open. It is the joy of one who knows that sorrow, worry, and fear do not have the final word over their life. It is an unshakable joy because its roots are in me, the one who never changes. And the wisdom I give you is not like the wisdom of this world. The world teaches you to put yourself first, to compete for gain and loss, to look for shortcuts to profit. But I teach you to become deep, calm, awake, to look at everything with eyes that see beyond the surface. I give you the ability to discern what is true and what is false, what must be kept and what must be released, what is a grace and what is a trap. I help you walk through this life without being swept into chaos, without being pushed around by the hearts of others, without being deceived by glittering illusions. I teach you to live wisely, not so that you may excel above others, but so that you may live rightly, beautifully, and in peace. And all these things: joy that cannot be shaken, peace that does not waver, wisdom that does not fade, inner strength that does not run dry, are given only to those who see me as Father, not as a source of supply on demand. My child, be the one who walks with me each day, not the one who only seeks me in times of rescue. For only when your heart belongs to me will you receive the fullness of every treasure I have set apart for you, before you were ever born. My child, I want you to understand something truly important, a truth you may never have dared to face. My love is open to all, but only souls that truly thirst for me will grasp the treasure I desire to give. Not those who seek me only when they have been pushed to the last corner, when every door is closed and I become their final refuge. No, the great graces I have prepared are not for hearts that come to me as the last option of a desperate journey. They belong to those who seek me first, to those who thirst for truth like a wanderer in the desert thirsts for water, to those who understand that nothing in this life can ever be enough without me. Do not think that I show favoritism. I simply give to each heart exactly what it comes seeking. Those who come to me reluctantly receive just enough comfort for the moment they are shattered, but those who come out of love receive the whole treasure that has been kept for them from eternity. Do not let yourself belong to the group who only call my name when the storm has swept away every other hope, for then you are only using me to fill an emptiness, not truly surrendering to my lead. I do not want you to seek me because everything else has failed. I want you to seek me because you know that without me, nothing can stand firm for long. Do you know why many people take me lightly? It is not because they are strong, nor because they are truly fulfilled, but because they believe I will always be there, forever. People easily make light of what they think can never be lost. Like someone so accustomed to the light of dawn that they no longer value the gift of still having eyes to see, or like someone who breathes constantly without ever considering that breath can one day cease. My love is seen in the same way, familiar, convenient, close at hand, to the point that it is treated as something automatic. People live as though I will never depart, as though the chance to return will always remain, as though grace were an endless stream they can draw from whenever they wish. But my child, I am patient. Yes, I wait. Yes, I am slow to punish, slow to condemn, slow to shut the door of grace. Yet there is something I want you to remember. My patience is not an indefinite extension. It is not a free pass for you to delay, not a reason for you to wander further, not an excuse for you to live as though the day of return will never come. Remember the door of the ark in the days of the great flood. I did not close it when the first light rain began to fall. I did not close it when people could still change. I did not close it while Noah was still urging them to turn back. I gave them time. I left countless signs. I warned. I stirred. I reminded. But the people of that time only laughed at my patience and thought they could wait a little longer. When I finally closed the door, it was not because I wanted to punish, but because the time had come for me to protect those who had listened to me, those who struggled to keep their hearts soft to my call. Notice this: once that door was shut, it did not open again. Not because I ran out of mercy, but because opportunity has a limit when human hearts stubbornly grow cold. It is like the wise virgins who prepared oil early, while others assumed they could wait until the last minute to be ready. When the hour came, they knocked on the door in terror, but the door was closed not because I did not love them, but because they themselves had chosen delay. You see, grace is not a door locked from my side. It is a door that closes because people waited too long to step through. I warn you not to plant fear in your heart, but to save you from the very things whose severity you have not yet understood. You may think that warnings are meant to pressure you, but in truth they are the arms that catch a child slipping down a slope, the call of a father who knows a chasm lies just ahead. Do not overlook the gentleness in my words, for that gentleness is itself proof of a mercy so great that you cannot measure it. But if you keep ignoring it, if you linger in what pulls you away from me, if you choose postponement instead of returning, then consequences will unfold according to the law I set from the beginning. You are free to ignore me, free to turn your face away, free to walk off in another direction, but you are not free to control the outcome of what you choose. Truth does not disappear simply because you refuse to look at it. My word does not lose its power just because you temporarily cover your ears. What I warn you of does not vanish simply because you pretend it does not exist. Remember this: when you disregard me, you do not erase my word, you only push back the day you must face the truth. And the more that day is delayed, the more forcefully it comes, with a louder voice, cutting more deeply into the soul. You cannot run from the light forever. Darkness may draw you for a while, but sooner or later it will reveal that it has nothing with which to feed your soul. I do not want you to reach that point before you recognize my worth. I do not want you to taste paralysis before you realize you have lost what matters most. I do not want you to awaken only through pain. I want you to see it now, while your heart is still soft enough to be moved, still sensitive enough to feel, still warm enough to understand my words. My child, if you sense even the slightest stirring in your heart as you read these words, if you feel a small spark beginning to flare as though it longs to burst into flame, if something in you urges you to stop and look deeply into your own soul, then it is I who am touching you. Do not ignore that moment. Do not push it off to tomorrow. Do not let your heart grow another layer of mist. Let me draw you back from the edge of the cliff you do not even realize you are standing so close to. Let me lead you to the place where your soul can breathe again, where your heart can grow warm again, where your eyes can shine again. For I have never been far from you, but only when you return will you truly know how near I have always been. In this very moment, let your heart open like a wide door, and let the deepest things within your soul be lifted up to me in absolute honesty. Almighty God, who sees through every faint beat within my soul, I come to you, carrying no strength of my own, only fear, regret, and the wounds I have held onto for far too long. Please wash away from me all that has hardened my heart, so that I no longer hide from your calling. Please reshape my heart so it trembles before your holiness and is moved by the beauty you sow within it. Please keep me from fading into spiritual lukewarmness, from the slow negligence that draws me away from you bit by bit. Grant me the grace to return without waiting for life to be calm first, for true peace exists only when I stand within your embrace. Loving Father, refuge of the weary, please set me free from this habit of double-hearted living. My lips call you, Father, yet my life stands far from you. I confess before you that there are days I live as though you no longer exist, even while my mouth still professes your name. Please shatter the fine disguises I wear to hide my coldness. Please rekindle the fire of love so that I will not bow my knees before anything and anyone but you. And please grant me courage to leave behind this half-hearted way of life, so that I may truly belong to you in every breath I take. Merciful Father, who never abandons me, I thank you for not allowing me to drown in forgetfulness of you. Thank you for looking at me with tenderness even when I have gone so long without looking toward you. Thank you that whenever I sink into indifference, you still let light slip into my heart and stir me to return. I thank you for never giving up on me, even when I have already given up on myself. Lord Jesus, Redeemer of my soul, I thank you for every wound you bore in my place, for every drop of blood you shed to keep my soul from eternal darkness. Thank you for not turning away when I lived as if you did not exist. I know that without you, my heart would have been bound tightly in its own numbness, pride, and sin. I thank you for not letting me drift so far from you that no path back remained. I offer this prayer in the holy name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Do not forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so that together we can build a strong and living community of faith.